4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so this is Banjo-Kazooie 100%. The rules for this category state that you have to fully complete the total screen before going to rescue your sister Tootie from the evil witch Gruntilda at the end of the game. So we'll just start off by introducing ourselves. My name's Dickus Khan.
I'm Hyperresonance 92.
I'm Captain Cole.
I'm Stibbity Bobo. Yeah.
So that's a really finicky backflip, and he got it first try, so that's really nice. Big reset point, first thing in the run.
Yep. So right now, Stiv's just going to make his way through this tutorial section of the game called Spiral Mountain. He has to go through it, collect a bunch of empty honeycomb cells here. Bottles asked him at the beginning of the level if he wanted to go over the basic moves, but I think he pretty much has them down at this point, so he skipped that part.
Generally in Spiral Mountain, you want to roll as much as possible. It's the fastest form of movement. And at the end of your roll, you actually get a slowdown. So what Stiv is doing is he's jumping and then immediately fluttering back into the ground so we can start rolls earlier and retain that faster movement throughout the entire level. So a lot of the focus for this game's time saves is reducing the amount of animations. So anything from like reducing backflips to getting in Talon Trot while you're like entering loading zones and stuff like that. So Stiv will be doing that, just like it's little subtleties in this game. And coming up is a trick called Bottle Skip. Normally he talks to you, but if you land on this very specific part on the cliff here, he will not see you, and you can jump right over him and cross the bridge over into the lair. And as we're entering the lair, we have a trick that we set up before the run that Captain Cole will explain a little bit more about here.
So before the run, Stiv went into Furnace Fun on another game file, and we set up a trick called Furnace Fun Moves, where if you game over in a mini-game square on the Furnace Fun board, the trigger in memory, the bit field that stores all your moves, doesn't get cleared and is still persistent when you start a new game file. So after you enter another layer loading zone, such as entering Spiral Mountain, it'll give you the moves that you had on that previous file onto this one. So when Stiv enters Mumbo's Mountain here, he will have Talon Trot right away. We do this to get almost all of the moves in the game. We do not get eggs or feathers or gold feathers, as we want the resources for those moves since we use a bunch of them during the run.
Bottles doesn't actually give you those resources if you already have the move learned, and being at a deficit of 50 eggs is huge, especially when in Gobi's Valley you use like 25.
So at the beginning of the level there, you saw Stiv collected a little skull. That's called a Mumbo token, and in several levels in this game, there's a character named Mumbo Jumbo who will turn you into different transformations. He's in this level, but we're not going to talk to him because you need to turn into the termite to normally climb this tower and also to get one of the jiggies at the end of the level. But Stiv here is abusing a little glitch in the game called Slope Glitch. Ooh, unlucky.
Oh, that guy.
That is
it's just
classic.
all luck.
Those termites really like to get in your way.
Yeah. So basically how it works is if Banjo and Kazooie are standing on a slope that would normally be too steep for them to stand on, there's about 1.5 seconds that you can stand on it and then they'll slide off. But if you make Banjo and Kazooie's shadow hit the flat ground and then return to that steep slope, it resets that 1.5 second timer. So as long as you go back and forth between the shadow hitting flat ground and going onto the slope, you'll never actually slide off of steep slopes. And this glitch is only on the 1.0 NTSC version of the game.
So coming up is the conga section, and Stiv's going to want to get Conga to throw oranges on these switches, which can be tricky, but he can get 2 of them right away, and 1 of them can be thrown randomly. We'll see what happens here. Nothing fancy. He's going to jump and land on the Chimpy Jiggy as it spawns here. That's another one little thing that saves small amounts of time in several locations is like landing where the Jiggy is going to spawn.
Yeah, and those tiny little time saves, they add up so much. In a speedrun like this, which is less like your Ocarina of Time, full of like glitches constantly, this is more of a movement-based speedrun where you're just pretty much just executing the game really fast. There are its fair share of glitches, though, that we're going to get to show off later.
So Stiv here was trying to shoot Conga from afar here. And he missed, but he got it that time.
Yeah, because you have to wait for Conga to throw those oranges. It actually saves a lot of time to jump closer to that witch switch, which is the next spot you have to go to before you actually shoot him the last time. But obviously makes it a bit hard to hit him because you can't see him anymore.
Again, getting into position here where you can just grab the Jiggy. Now we have to return to the huts area because since we did have to learn eggs, we weren't able to do Juju earlier. So now we can head back to the huts area and get the Juju Jiggy and clean up the area.
As you see, we're jumping in Talon Trots. It's the fastest movement. And so you'll be hearing Kazooie go bree, bree, bree over and over and over again throughout the run.
Yeah.
Reason it's fastest to jump is you get an acceleration instantly when you jump. So you're instantly at full speed. And then at the end, just like a roll actually, you get a little bit of a slowdown. So you want to keep jumping so you retain that speed. Alright, well done, Juju. Now the 10th Jiggy in any level gives you a particularly long dance when you get it. So we'd like to skip those as many as we can. And we've planned out the route so that the blue Jinjo is the last Jinjo that we collect, and it spawns the Jiggy right near the water. And in this game, when you fly or swim into a Jiggy, you skip the dance. So what he's going to try to do is jump with the Jiggy in his hand into the water and then use that to skip the final Jiggy dance.
And just to add to that,
You got
if done perfectly, there's actually only one level where we just going for a little swim there, no big deal. There's actually only one level where you will see that final Jiggy Jig, as we call it, the 10-second long one. And there's we don't really have a route that would skip that one,
No.
which you'll see in Freeze Easy Peak, but there you go, that's Mumbo's Mountain.
So right away, we're gonna slope glitch our way up to the top to the witch switch Jiggy.
Yep, no need for the termite when you can slope glitch. And while Stiv is just going to open up another couple of worlds, it'd probably be a good time for some donations if you got any, Casper.
Alrighty. We got $150 from Arctic Like 131 that says, donating during one of my favorite games. Good luck, Stivity Bobo, and save those animals from Gruntilda. We got $50 from Chronos 420 that says, good luck, Stiv. Shout out to the Banjo speedrunning community, and especially to my brother, Dickus Khan. Donation to Rita's Choice.
Thank you.
We got $50 from Stevo that says, Mumbo Jumbo, what is this? Witch Doctors Without Borders?
And so now that we have Furnace Fun moves, we can use the Shock Spring pad early and open up Clankers and TTC at the same time.
So when Furnace Fun Moves was found, it had let us reroute a whole bunch of the game. The entire game was completely rerouted, mostly by myself and Hyper. And it's a massive time save in the run. And so you'll see a bunch of cool tricks that couldn't normally be done in the run without Furnace Fun moves. Like we're going to be beak bombing all the time here in TTC, or Treasure Trove Cove.
Yeah, and you know, I think the last time that Banjo-Kazooie 100% was showcased at a GDQ was 2015, AGDQ 2015, if I'm correct on that. But it's just undergone so many insane changes with skips and glitches and things that have just been found. So it's going to be, if you thought you knew Banjo-Kazooie from AGDQ 2015, there's going to be a lot of new stuff.
I think the world record has gone down from a 210 to a 203 in that span of time.
Insane. So
So you can see Blubber up there, and he's walking around and crying. because he can't find his gold, so we're going to help him out. But he sometimes doesn't like to help us out because he can be really far away from where the Jiggy spawns, and you don't have a chance to grab it in the cutscene. So we'll see if he wants to cooperate with us today.
He's looking okay. He's heading over there.
So coming up right here, Stiv answers the ship hole. He's going to do something called a quick dive. So if you're in Talon Trot and start leaving Talon Trot as you fall into the water, the animation will continue, and Banjo will get out in Talon Trot, and you'll just sink to the bottom for as long as that animation is going. This allows us to get into deep water really fast.
All right, looks like we're getting good luck with this gaseous hippo over here.
All right,
He's not
nice.
in Africa.
Pretty sweet. So that guy, he can be so many different places on the ship. So it's always a good feeling when he's right there where the Jiggy spawns, because it's like probably like a 3-second time save you wouldn't get otherwise. It's always a good feeling.
So here's the first flying section of the run. We're going to be doing 3 of them in TTC here. They can be a little bit difficult because flying controls are hard. And so we're going to try to pick up that notes and then get this Jiggy in the chest, all without landing. And Beak Bomb over here to the first X. So those Beak Bombs save quite a bit of time. And it's very nice that you can learn that move without having learned flight in the first place.
And some need to point out little things. Stiv was able to grab a red feather during that without losing much time. Figuring out where to grab these consumable items that we use to fly and go invulnerable and stuff, eggs, it's really an interesting part of the route because you do have to keep refilling these items or you're going to run out. So we try to collect them in the fastest way we can think of, like along the way with the route. And yeah, so nice to get a quick little red feather in there.
It's really helpful. You get low on feathers in Freeze's Peak later in the run.
So we're on to the second flying section of this level. We're gonna Beak Bomb down and pick up this Jiggy in this alcove, and we do not want to land. And be a little precise. Very nice.
All right, nice
And
job.
Gonna quickly fly up, grab the orange Jinjo, and Beak Bomb to the top of the lighthouse to grab this Jiggy. Very nice.
Yep. And flying into the Jiggies, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You can see that he doesn't do the Jiggy Jig. Each one of those Jiggy Jigs is about 4 seconds. And so in TTC especially, we like to try to fly into as many as possible or swim into them. That also just cancels the Jiggy Jig. And there's lots of different ways.
Yep, and the final Jiggy is about 8 seconds, so it's even more important to skip those. Another quick dive there to get that honeycomb.
That one's pretty tricky. That was good.
Snacker can really get in your way there if you miss that quick dive, so it was really good that he got it there. And now with Nipper here, when you enter his cutscene, you're invulnerable for a little bit of time, or his hitbox is not active. So you can jump in just like that and just beat Nipper just like that.
Clean, quick kill there.
So we always want to make sure we have plenty of health entering Nipper here, because these crabs can just get under you and get in your way and hit you. But Stiv has plenty of health, and he had some good crab luck.
Yeah, at the more like top level of speedrunning and trying to get your time down to optimize things perfectly, you would go in there with 2 health, but for marathon safety, definitely go in there with 3 health, because if the crab's under you, you'll land on him with the Jiggy, and then you'll be inside his hitbox when the cutscene ends, and you'll take another hit and die. And so
It's killed many people's runs.
Yeah.
Yep, just to be marathon safe. So now just a little bit of cleanup. We're going to poop eggs into Leaky here to drain the water.
Yep. Set up his camera very specifically as he was getting up to the higher platform there, and just kept it the same way because he has a specific spot, a specific camera angle. Just poop those eggs right into Leaky without having to go down there, lose a bunch of time.
So we're about to head into the final flight section of Treasure Trove Cove. This one is very difficult. We're collecting many objects in the air. First off with this Mumbo token, and we're gonna use a feather and then dive straight down into these notes, and then Beak Bomb through this Jinjo and hopefully grab the honeycomb at the end.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Awesome.
And Beak Bomb
Not
up,
easy.
and we're gonna skip this Jiggy dance. And now we're gonna fly back down to the Jinjo Jiggy that spawns and skip that dance also.
That's definitely one of the hardest flying sections in the game, I would say. And pretty much perfect, so great.
Now he doesn't want to get the health here because he's going to be setting up for a death warp actually in the sandcastle coming up.
And so death warps in this game, we're going to do them at the end of levels because it gets us to the entrance as soon as possible. But we should also talk about how dying in this game can be really terrible, since if you die in this game, you don't have all 100 notes. You'll have to recollect all the notes again. So hopefully Stiv does not die in this run.
Yeah, that was when they came out with the remake of Banjo-Kazooie on the Xbox. They changed it so that if you die, you keep all your items, you keep all your notes and Jinjos, but the Xbox is slower because you can't skip text on that version, so we just run on the N64 version and hope we don't die by accident.
So now what he's going to try to do is grab this Jiggy and actually land on the crab to die. And what this does is it lets him still keep the Jiggy
Nice.
and just death warp right to the entrance of the level.
Yeah.
And that's it for Treasure Trove Cove.
Great, and on his way to Clanker's Cavern now. It's a pretty low point of the run, so got any more donations, Casper?
We have a lot of donations. Alrighty, we have $100 from Pebby that says, Banjo Hype, I will double this donation if someone on the couch gives us their best Jiggy Jig.
Oh God. Okay, I'll give it. I'll take the bullet here. Doot doodle doot 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 doot. Gulp. God. Let's see that 100.
Also, I'd like to point out that we have hit $300,000.
Hey.
Thank you guys so much for that.
So Clanker's Cavern coming up here is a really difficult level. It used to be kind of just, let's get through it. But now there's a lot of difficult cycles because Clanker himself is cycle-based from when you start the level.
Okay, so it's a little bit hard to explain, but with Clanker's Cavern, there's a big whale that you like release from the water, and he rises up, and he also has a toothache, and you've got to shoot eggs into his tooth to make him feel better and get a Jiggy for it. So Stiv is racing to get to Clanker as fast as possible so that he can get the optimal tooth cycle. The tooth bobs under the water, and then it shows itself so that you can shoot the eggs at it. If Stiv even is slow by a fraction of a second for like the first 3 minutes of this level, he's not going to get the optimal cycle. And it's one of the, it makes this, when we discovered this, it would just seem like such a ridiculous thing to even save more time on this level, but it ended up making this, I think, like widely opinionated as the hardest level in the speedrun at this point. So even getting to Gloop and having him shoot that bubble it's incredible how
Stiv
tight
is
the
on
movement
pace
has
for that
to be.
faster cycle now.
Yeah, and it's not over yet though. That was the easy part. The swimming is the hard part. But
Swimming in this game is really hard to control. A lot of people probably didn't know as a kid that you can hold R for both swimming and flying and turn faster. So you definitely have to use that, and you pretty much can't make any movement mistakes if you want to make the best cycle that you can get. And additionally, part of getting that cycle is getting that bubble that Dick was just talking about. And if you're not close enough to Gloop, it will not appear. It's just not actually spawned on screen. You're not close enough. It's not drawn on the camera, so it doesn't spawn.
And so we're talking about the cycles here, and each cycle is around 8 seconds. And so if you miss a cycle, that's 8 seconds of time loss. And that could just be messing up, like Dick said, like fraction of a second, you just mess up, and then you could just lose 8 seconds instantly.
so I just want to remind that fraction of a second, he hasn't been allowed to lose it since he entered the level. So even that like insane jump he did at the beginning of the level, that's already hard to do. I mean,
Yeah, got it.
he got the 2 cycle. But and as you can see, he was pixels away from not being able to hit that last egg shot. So that jump at the beginning of Clankers is already kind of hard to do, and you have to do it really, really fast to be able to make that 2 cycle. And then also be perfect for the entire rest of that entire section.
So coming up here is a little mini game where you gotta jump through rings as fast as possible. We'll see what Stiv gets for his ring counter. 22 is usually the best. In order to optimally do it, you want to be able to backflip and land on this ring here.
Good. 23 is possible if you jump across these rings here. You can actually land on them, even the tiny ones, but it's just not worth it to go for.
This will be an easy 22 here. That was really good.
Nice.
Very good.
So now this next section coming up is also another one of those things where, okay, you enter the area, the cycle starts. Stiv's goal is to get everything basically around the perimeter of the room while also making a bolt cycle later. So he's going to take it up here, get this jiggy, and he's going to do a jump to a pipe on the side of the room with notes on it. It's a really tight jump. And then cross the room around the perimeter and try to make it in the bolt at the end. Let's see if he makes this jump.
Ooh,
wow, he didn't even have to ground
That's
pound.
really good. That is a very, very difficult jump.
If you're a bit low, you can ground pound to get an extra height to make it, but he didn't even need to do that, so that was a really good jump.
So right here, he's going to backflip down after a bear punch so he can keep his height and stay up here.
Nice.
And grab the honeycomb at the same time.
Now he has to just get these couple notes up here and then try to make it in the bolt before it goes back down.
Yeah, and these little jumps between these cubbies here, if you take them slow, then it's going to be a lot harder to make that bolt cycle. So doing really precise, short jumps between those can be really difficult, but he made the cycle with plenty of time,
great
so that
job.
was great. This is a very, very clean Clankers. Not to jinx it or anything.
Not to jinxie it.
Sorry.
So coming up in this next room, Stiv will be learning gold feathers. You actually can't make it into this room without flight. Otherwise, we probably would have already learned gold feathers.
He's about to do some really impressive dodging as well.
Oh my god, how
That's
is he not getting hit?
unbelievable. Wow.
Frame perfect.
Wow. 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 There's actually no way you can get hit if you walk along the right seam there. You don't take damage. He's not actually a god. You know, anyone can do that.
So now we've routed Clankers so that we get the purple Jinjo last here. And it's underwater, so we can use that to skip the jiggy dance. And now there's not much left in this level besides the tail and then the snippets in the underwater cave. There's 4 crabs you have to kill, and then Stiv is going to be trying to get to where the jiggy spawns. You have to kill them with eggs, and they can kind of trick you a little bit with their movement, and they can be too far away for you to get it. So hopefully they'll cooperate this run. Another use of quick dive there to get down to this underwater tunnel earlier.
There's a little bit of RNG to these guys, so you really want to hope they cooperate. He's going to try to poop 2 eggs on the next crab and then the last crab as well, and then jump up to where the jiggy spawns.
Ooh. Yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second crab just ran at him way too fast.
Yeah, those crabs were aggressive. But it's possible to kill the crabs, and then jump up to exactly where that Jiggy spawns and get it during the cutscene. But
So
Not
now
with those
that he's
crabs.
done with the snippets, he's just gonna be doing a really long swimming section where he's gonna swim to grab the last Jiggy, the last few notes, and the honeycomb, and then he's gonna drown in the water at the very end to warp himself back to the beginning of the level.
yeah, this is honestly probably a pretty good time for some donations. There's about a minute left here of him just swimming.
Alrighty, we have $25 from Old Hoovian that says, so hyped for one of my favorite runners, Stevie Bobo, running one of my favorite games, Banjo-Kazooie. We got $5 from Games with Hands that says, if Dick does the Vile song, I will donate $10 more. Cheers, boys.
Oh man.
You got a few of those, so you can't disappoint.
Oh man. Why? Why do this to me? Well,
You
I
have
guess I
to
have to
you
do
have to
it.
do the censored version too.
I have to do. I don't know how to censor. Oh, this isn't gonna be. This isn't clean at all. Oh man.
All right, so Steve got everything just fine, and now he's gonna drown. That's
That
it
was-
for Clanker's Cavern.
Other than those snippets at the end, that was really unlucky. That was really insane. That Clankers.
So the puzzle for Bubble Gloop is in this room and that underwater tunnel over there. Bubble Gloop is a level that's really tricky to route because it's mostly based off of the crocodiles that you shoot eggs into, and you have to do them in order, so you can't change the route very much.
We've tried. So we can have some more donations here as Civ opens this level, and soon to open Freezy Peak.
Alrighty, we got $200 from Pebby that says, Con, that Jiggy Jig was worth at least 200. Feels
Nice.
Becky, man.
Thanks, Pebby.
We got $50 from JD McNeil that says, it really does sound quite absurd. Adventures of a Bear and a Bird. Good luck, Stiv. Watching your runs has inspired me to rediscover this awesome game from my childhood. We got $150 from Anonymous that says, always fun to see a Bobo Banjo run. We got $50 from President Vicelli that says, I was just waiting for the right time to finally donate. Can't think of a better time than during a 100% run of my favorite game ever. That Kazooie plushie is amazing too. Good luck, Bobo. We got $30 from Aranha that says, can't pass up the opportunity to donate to my favorite game ever. My cat Kazooie says hi as well. We got $20 from Anonymous that says, Stiv, watching you is always inspirational, even if this is 100%. So happy to be a part of this community, and good luck with the rest of the run. We got $50 from VQ that says, what do you call a wet bear? A drizzly bear. Ooh. Good luck on the run and one of my favorite childhood games.
So interesting here, Stiv is actually abusing that slope glitch we were talking about to get through that pipe without using the wading boots. And you'll see a lot of us just jumping straight through this. There's piranhas in this water, and they deal damage every time you walk through the swamp without the boots on. But you're going to see a lot of health management in this level. Stiv's going to get down to 1 health optimally at the end of this first section. And then there's this another Jiggy where you kill a bunch of frogs and it leaves health lying around everywhere. So he'll go down to 1 health, go all the way back up to almost full health, and then back down to 1 health at the end of the level to do the death warp. So health management's really crucial in this level. Taking an accidental hit can be really bad.
So he wanted to go fast enough at the start of the level to make that leaf there so he could climb up this cattail and get over to the egg without taking any extra damage.
And the nice thing about that cattail, you get a Mumba token, you avoid taking a damage, and you can also jump straight over to the egg without having to use that shock spring pad over there. And using shock spring pads is a little slow. There's a charge up animation for it. Like I was talking about earlier, you just want to reduce those animations as much as possible. Alright, so Stiv's good. He's at 1 health.
So now it's a race against the clock. Do you think Stiv will make it to the Jiggy in time?
Got there with plenty of time to get that croc cycle there. It's another thing like Clankers, where at the start of the level, that crocodile is opening and closing its mouth through the whole level. So it's another one where if you go as fast as possible, you can save a little bit of time by getting to that croc earlier, which he did.
Nice.
Stiv makes it with plenty of time to spare. 18 seconds is a great time to grab that Jiggy at. So these flibbits, the gold flibbits, usually take 2 hits to kill, but with gold feathers, they instantly die. So we use them here to quickly kill them and have the Jiggy spawn on us to grab it quickly.
So now coming up, there's a lot of shock spring pads here. They want you to use them to get up these huts, but if you use a well-timed jump and a rat-a-tat rap at the end, you can get a little extra height and just skip it. However, on this particular hut right here, it's really, really difficult. So he's just going to break that one and then do one more hut jump, and he made it all the way up.
No falling. Yeah.
So right here, Stiv's gonna shoot an egg into this Croctus, then roll down and hit this Witch Switch right after it.
Nice.
This will stop the cutscene and overlap it with the Witch Switch one, skipping the end of that cutscene there, saving a little time. And then we'll also then be stuck with this sound effect still playing in the background because the game never tells the sound effect to turn off since the cutscene was cut short.
So you get this little sparkling sound in the background until we collect our next Jinjo coming up. One of the few places we actually really use the boots in the run. Although there is a lot of health from the flibbits, we do need to conserve some of it. So it does end up being faster there to use those boots.
So something that could happen right here is when Stiv shoots a egg into this Croctus, this Buzz Bomb could hit him. And an interesting thing in this game is if you get hit during a cutscene, you can start moving in that cutscene. Banjo is no longer locked, and so you can use this to gain a little extra distance in cutscenes. And we're actually going to use this trick in a few other places to save quite a significant amount of time.
Nice. Those dragonflies can be in really bad spots. The first one was really bad, and so Stiv had to kill it, but it was kind of juking him a little bit. That second one was right on pass, so Stiv could kill it on his way to the croc, but sometimes they can just body you, and you'll lose a bunch of time.
Okay, so now coming
Might
up
need some help
here.
here, boys.
Yeah, yeah. Steve needs our help to remember the.
Oh, you do?
I might. I don't know.
Might. To remember the turtles. So he's going to use Tip Tup here actually to bounce off and then move during this cutscene.
So we can actually start typing in the pattern during the cutscene, saving the time.
Okay.
That one was easy.
Good RNG.
Yeah. Good RNG. Obviously, during this, you want the next turtle in line for the Simon Says to be as close as possible. So going from something like red to pink would be really bad RNG because you have to go over the dark blue turtle to get there.
You got it. I guess.
Red? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Light blue. Oh, okay.
No. Wow.
Well then.
Oh, that can happen too.
I trusted you, Dick.
Yeah. So sorry.
Wow, Brad.
Where's my Simon Says?
So optimally, we wanted the last turtle to be the yellow one there because it's the closest to the Jiggy. And you can actually, if it's there, you can actually jump into the Jiggy as it spawns. And
Really hard to do. I think Smasher 32 was the only one that I've seen do it. RTA. All right, so now Stiv is at 6 health, and he's going to be taking a bunch of that health and damage during this little swamp area in order to skip one of the pairs of boots here, which just saves a little bit of time.
so we've got another timer Jiggy here. This one's a lot shorter, but it's got a thin path. However, Stiv's gonna just easily jump around it.
Sometimes the camera can kind of troll you a little bit there. You got to be careful. So he does want to be at 1 health here. And now we're going to talk to Mumbo and transform into the crocodile.
Oh, good.
Now, there's a chance when you transform that the Mumbo token count does not count down, and you transform into the washing machine. It's random. You don't know when it's going to happen.
And it wastes time in the speed run.
Additionally, there's something called T-Rex, where Mumbo tries to transform you into a T-Rex and it doesn't work, and he says, "Oh, we're gonna save that for the next game." So they do that in Banjo-Tooie.
I'll save it for round 2.
So this is Mr. Vile. It's a really long mini game. It has 3 rounds that are a minute long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
Go
basically
around.
an auto scroller kind of thing where you have to wait out the timer and do this mini game, which is really easy. So I wrote a little song to go along with this part to make it a little less boring for myself, and I guess I have to sing it. So I might as well say hi YouTube now because it's gonna get cringy.
So during this first round, we're gonna just collect a bunch of resources laying around.
And you do actually have to win. You have to have more than Vile. If you tie, he will also try to bite you, and if you're at 1 health, you'll die. So you have to win.
Though luckily, because we have Furnace Fun moves, the speed shoes are active in the back, making this even easier to beat.
Almost
All
got
right.
the extra life.
I guess here we go. Here we go, we're racing Mr. Vile, greedy crocodile, doesn't make me smile. On round 2 you gotta eat up all the yumblies, but don't eat any grumblies, they'll make you sick. That's right, on round 2 with Mr. Vile, greedy crocodile, doesn't make me smile. Going around to eat up all those yumblies, but if you eat a grumbly, you're not good at this. Greedy crocodile, Mr. Flippin' Vile, doesn't make me smile. Here we go, we're gonna eat up all those yumblies, don't eat any grumblies. That's right, he's Vile, a crocodile, he's a D-Croc, sucks rocks, and don't make me smile. Alright, now that time is running out. Mr. Vile is gonna lose, no doubt, cause Stiv's a better, faster croc. And Mr. Vile, yeah. Thank you. How many people are watching?
They all loved it.
Alright.
So in round 3, it switches between yumblies and grumblies that you have to eat every 10 seconds.
generally the strategy is to, Vile knows where they are, so you can go for them. You can just follow him around, and as the timer starts to approach the 10 mark or the 20 mark, you can go for the next color that's going to be coming up.
Oh,
So he's trying to manipulate him
Not
so
bad, yeah.
Vile's at the front of the room. So when he throws his Jiggy, we can quickly leave.
yeah. There was a situation there where there was like a Grumbly kind of in the middle of the room, and a bunch spawned at the very back. So Stiv actually chose to let Vile eat all of the ones in the middle of the room, so that he wouldn't run to the very back. And that's the only way you could actually lose time in Vile, is if he's really far away from the exit at the end of the game.
So just cleaning up a few things here that we need the croc for to fit under these hut platforms. And then there's a dragonfly nearby here that we're going to use the death wart.
Yeah, and I think most people in the community would say that Bubble Loop is one of the easier levels, but you can lose a bunch of time. Almost everything in this level that you can lose time to, other than having really bad death early, is luck-based.
That guy
like
is
this.
just not even close.
At least he didn't get stuck. He can get sort of stuck on the wall and the posts, and he can just get stuck and just fly upwards, and you'll have to go
Yeah.
find somewhere else to die.
Really rare, but I've had it happen a couple times to me. So this is another good time for donations if we got any more coming in, Casper. I sure hope we do.
Oh, we have a lot. We got $1,300.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's from Stoufy153 that says, caw, caw. We got $100 from Sheen Glad that says 100% run of one of my favorite childhood games. So much nostalgia. Love SGDQ. We got $10 from Jacob A that says, Sifty Bobo has just done a frame-perfect dodge into my heart. Keep up the good work and save the animals. Donation goes to Reader's Choice. We got $25 from Pixel911 that says, Banjo hype, shout out to the great BK community we have, and to Stiv, the human task.
Hey, thanks, Pixel.
We have $25 from Vicarious Vice that says, speedrunning games with the bird and bear. Here's $25 to show I care. We got $50 from Taito Saku that says, Banjo-Kazooie is my childhood. Good luck to all the runners and ground pound that witch.
Only the task ground pounds
Yeah,
her.
you can't ground pound the witch. That's insane.
We got, oop,
Oh,
Go
ahead.
for it. There's nothing going on.
we got $25 from Chirogenics that says, Banjo-Kazooie has to be my favorite game growing up. Always love watching Stivity play. Good luck. We have $5 from Tristan Guerra that says, Hi, my name is Tristan. I'm 7 years old. Saved my allowance money and wanted to give it to you. Please, save the animals because Pokemon are animals and I love Pokemon.
Aww.
Thanks, Tristan.
All right, so we're coming up on Gobi's Valley here now. In this level, there's a move called Turbo Trainers that we normally need for Freezeezy Peak, but because of Furnace Fun moves, we already have that learned, and Beak Bomb as well from Freezeezy Peak, which normally you need to take a trip there for. So we can just complete this level in one trip. And there's these things called the Ancient Ones here, these rings, and they spawn only when they're on camera. And when you pass through them, the game keeps up this counter and then randomly spawns one in another spot. When you enter a loading zone in this level, it still keeps track of the amount that you've gone through, and when you re-enter the area, it's back in that main position that you just went through. So we use that in a clever way to route the level differently. And now coming up here is a trick called Gobi Clip, which Captain Cole will explain.
So right here, Stiv's gonna attempt to clip into Jinxie here. We call it Gobi Clip, where if you beak barge against the wall here, you'll build up some speed, and then you'll fly through this little seam on the left here.
Nice.
Very
Second
nice.
try, wow.
And this will let you skip having to climb up to him and shoot eggs into his nose to open the door.
Yeah, that was well done. Another thing to point out with those rings is that it would spawn in 4 different locations after the first one.
Yeah.
And one of those 4 locations is a huge time save because you can actually jump to the ring before going towards Gobi Clip and get it on the way. But Stiv didn't get that ring spawn, and yeah, makes first try Gobi Clip free. It's not a myth. That's a real thing.
So as I was talking about earlier with camera, the rings not being raising out of the ground until they're on camera, Stiv's going to use that to his advantage here. Since he doesn't have the turbo trainers now, he can't just jump really fast from that slope onto the ring. So he's going to actually get onto it as it's rising out of the ground. And he got it just about fine
Nice.
there.
Oh, you gonna go for it?
And he got the good spawn here. So you can actually use this little cliff here to jump onto this ring as well. Oh, that guy tried sniping him.
Holy crap, man! That guy, he comes in sometimes and
Nice job.
it's not fun. That was good. Good RNG.
So Stiv's got to shoot 3 eggs into each of those statues in order to spawn the maze pyramid in the center of the level, which will have to be done later on. And the level is routed in a way that we can get rings and those statues without filling the moats, because we want to use the flight pads inside the moat. Those are a little bit quicker to get to than the one on top of Jinxie.
So in here is a memory match type minigame, and it would be really impressive if Stiv got all of these first tries. So let's see what happens here. Good guess. Wow. Wow, really good guess.
It's like you know where they are.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
God Gamer. And he's perfect. Wow, perfect puzzle. Let's go. Give it up. And he got the 69, which means he did it as fast as he could.
So coming up here, Stiv's gonna shoot some more eggs into these.
Ooh.
And then he's gonna try to jump down right as the cutscene starts, so he lands on this flight pad. And by doing that, you don't take damage when you fall down there. And we're gonna take flight and beak bomb through this ring here.
Yeah, actually the only ring you fly through. And this whole puzzle
Whoa.
is based on flying through rings.
That was some really weird collision there.
And we're actually gonna beak bomb this direction and head over to Grabba. Because you can actually grab Grabba's Jiggy with a beak bomb because it's fast enough. Usually you need the
Nice.
shoes to make it. Oh,
wow.
He almost
Ooh.
pulled you down there.
Okay.
So you want to stay
landing
in
there
flight
is really
here.
bad, yeah.
So we can beak bomb and enter Ruby's pyramid.
Yeah, it's a pretty difficult section, so.
You can actually kind of hear, if you listen closely in that area, the Turbo Trainer's music. This, the game assumes that you're going to use the Turbo Trainers to get the Jiggy from Grabba, so automatically plays it. So now as he's leaving this pyramid, he's actually right next to that first ring. And so he's going to use the camera manipulation again to get that one more time. Because he got the good luck earlier, this should be his last one, I believe.
Yep.
So that's all of the rings. Getting that good luck earlier saves him from having to travel back over there later to get one more.
So this
Nice.
part's a little There's a lot going on in this flying section here. He's going to actually beak bomb over towards the cactus that he made the honeycomb appear in earlier with that switch. And then he's going to beak bomb into Gobi's rock, freeing Gobi and getting a Jiggy for that. If there's a really precise spot on the rock to beak bomb. Ooh, yeah. He tried to aim to the left, and that's why he missed there. But if you hit the left side of that rock, you can stay in flight and actually fly into the Jiggy, and that's the best way to do that. But it's obviously very difficult to pick a spot on a small target already to beak bomb into. So, but it's got to be careful here because he's going to be at 1 health.
So Gobi's is really considered a hard level with all of these sections, and it's really easy to just die. As you see, Stiv's already down to 1 health. Having a bad Gobi clip would have cost him even more health. And a lot of runners like to call this the place where the dreams go to die.
And it all starts with the trick at the very beginning of the level. How well can you get Gobi clip?
And Gobi clip's such an inconsistent trick too. You always just hope it's going to work, and it feels like luck. It's probably not luck, but it's definitely inconsistent. So getting a second try in a marathon is just the best thing you can hope for, really.
This might be time for a good donation or two.
Alrighty, we have $10 from Games with Hands. It says, "Here's the 10 I promised. Congrats on actually doing it, Dick. Good luck on the rest of the run, Stiv." We have $150 from Anonymous that says, "That Vile song was great."
So yes, oh sorry, did you have another one? Okay. So Stiv actually opted to gold feather the mummies in that room because he has to refill his health, because doing the death warp at the end of this level requires at least 3 health. So I believe he refilled up to 3 health, right?
So yeah.
Yeah, so he needed to do that anyways. There's a couple of places you can do that, but they're probably around the same time. Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, what he tried doing there was actually skipping this cutscene. So he made it onto that platform, but just barely hit the trigger. And you can jump across the maze. However, he fell down, but you can get back up on that wall on the left there. Only cost him a few seconds. So now he wants to be careful here and not take damage on this quick dive. He wants to keep his health.
Yeah, if you have like 5 health at this point, you want to do an optimal quick dive, which would take you all the way down to the bottom. And the game actually thinks that there's still hot sand there if you touch it doing a quick dive. So he would take damage from hot sand that isn't actually there in this water. And that would get him down to the 4 health that he would want for this final section to get this death warp optimally.
So now, after we hit freed Gobi, he ran to the start of the level, so we have to head all the way back to the start, and we're gonna hit him with ground pounds, and he's gonna water this tree. We're gonna be beating up Gobi many times during this run. Camel abuse.
So because we got all the rings earlier, when we spawned the Jiggy, we can actually use these shoes to collect it, and the Turbo Trainers also skip Jiggy dances. So he saves 8 seconds by skipping that Jiggy, and then he can head right on over to Gobi to get the last honeycomb, clean up a few notes, and then that's it for Gobi's Valley. And Gobi can run right through carpets.
Do a little bit of slope glitch there to jump across the sand and get over here to do this last little section. He's going to have to use gold feathers because he only has 3 HP here. And he had to use gold feathers a little bit earlier, so you know, like I said, a lot of this run is keeping an eye on your items. He's good with 5, but might not want to waste any more by accident.
Pretty good Gobis
That was,
overall.
Didn't die.
So we activated the shock spring pad earlier. We're going to use it to climb onto the sarcophagus here. And you can actually just roll into it right here, and you'll grab the Jiggy through the wall.
Unless the game doesn't want to give him the Jiggy for some reason.
So your hitbox extends through it and just grabs it, so we don't have to hit that witch switch in Gobi's Valley.
And this is going to be a really long layer section, so any more donations you got? This is a good time.
Actually, we have $50 from the Denarios that says, hi from Back Couch.
Hey, hey Joey, what's up?
Hey.
We got $150 from Windslash that says, who knew you could finish the first 3 levels completely within 24 minutes? I'll donate another 50 if the couch does their best banjo laugh.
Go. Yeah. Go huck. Go huck. Steve, you have to do it too.
I just did.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
We have $50 from Alex H172 that says, who doesn't love the story of a bird and a bear? Good show, good cause.
Yeah, shout outs to twitch.tv/thedarnarius over there for that $50 donation. Really appreciate that one.
So Stiv's going to use this fish here to damage boost up onto this ledge. Saves a little bit of time here. Nice. All that long trek just to open Mad Monster Mansion.
And now we have to go all the way back to the level.
So any way into this level early would be a huge, huge time saver. Secret Humor Man has a bounty up for $100 for finding it. So if anybody is interested.
And that could bring the sub too. All right, any more donations? This just goes on and on.
We have $25 from the Sound Defense that says, I thought I knew banjo speedruns pretty well, yet within minutes my mind has been blown by the new tricks. Keep up the good work, Stiv. Put this towards Tetris Master Mode. We have $50 from Ashes Relandy that says, hey Stiv, glad to see Banjo-Kazooie 100% is back at GDQ again. Love the previous runs. To Stiv and the couch, I hope you all remember the meaning of Grunty's last name. Money goes to Runner's Choice.
It's Penis Bunyan. Winky Bunyan? Yeah.
We have $25 from Gruntilda58 that says, they move so fast, that bear and bird. These speedrun strats are so absurd. We have $5 from the name tag that says, if I had a nickel for every % you're going for on this run, I'd donate for that song. Oh look, I do have enough nickels. There you go. We got $25 from Kara that says, that cute crocodile song from the handsome dude on the couch melted my heart so much. Heart.
Handsome. Okay, whatever you say.
We have $50 from Benny Boy that says, here's to hoping for a good rusty bucket engine room. The most rage-inducing level of my childhood. I always enjoy seeing one of my favorite childhood games being destroyed. Thanks for all you do.
So this is Mad Monster Mansion. It's the spooky level of the game. Don't be too scared. And so there's a bunch of little rooms that we'll be heading into, like the cellar here.
This is one of the longer levels in the speedrun, and there's very, very little downtime. So this level is one of those ones where just pure movement optimization is so important to getting a good time, and every little thing is going to add up so much because it's just constant going.
It's really fast paced. You're in and out of a room in 5 or 6 seconds for some of them.
Whoa.
And yeah, that shock spring pad sometimes doesn't like to work. Falling off the house here is really costly, so you got to be really careful up here. And now coming up into the next room, he's going to be trying to get the Jiggy from the Ghost Napper. And it's actually a Jiggy that's on top of a flight pad. And the reason that's useful is if you get on the very edge of the flight pad without touching the Jiggy and turn towards it as you're using the flight pad, you can skip the dance, which he's going to try to do here.
Nice.
Got it! Wow. That's a lot harder than it looks.
Only a
that's-
couple of
that's-
pixels
yeah,
on that
that's,
pad that
that's
you can go
really,
on.
really nice.
It's one of those tricks that's like, it's so difficult, and it's like, you barely save any time at all doing it. So it's even going for it is almost silly to do. But when it saves time like that, it's totally worth it.
These ghosts really like to get in your way. Thankfully, they weren't this time.
So at the end of this maze here, we can actually jump on top of this honeycomb box. That at the peak of its like animation of going upward, you can jump onto the hedge and
Nice.
get over it and head over to this section.
Yeah, we really don't like finding
Nice.
maze exits the proper way. Just jump over all the mazes.
These pots are really precise, and Stiv has really optimized his movement to get these gravestones to not bother him while he's doing it.
Thank you.
Nice. Whoa.
Yeah, that was
Alright.
really well done. That section is. Those pots are really finicky. It's harder than it looks to even just stand still next to one and poop an egg into it. It's really small.
So
There
coming
we go.
up here is the tumbler minigame. So in this minigame, you have to spell Banjo-Kazooie just like the other minigame in the sandcastle. However, this time, the word's not written on the wall, so it's a very hard puzzle. And hitting these red witch squares actually takes some damage. And we're gonna use that to get to some of them faster and skip getting hit by the ghost.
Stiv opting to not get hit by that second one there because you just want to be safe. You don't want to get down to super low HP. I think he took some unintentional hit somewhere earlier on, so it's good to save HP.
Good to be safe.
Yeah, for a marathon.
So if you remember from AGDQ 2015, if you watched that run, Stiv headed to the well after this, but we're actually going to skip that and just come back to it later because a Let's Player named Connor75 found that you can actually do it as the pumpkin and it ends up being faster than Banjo and Kazooie.
For many years,
by-
people just thought it wasn't because that was the intended strat.
Oof, what?
It's a good
I
thing
don't
he
think I've
didn't
ever
take
seen
that
that.
damage in Tumbler.
Nice.
All right, he got the jiggy skip just
That's a
like he
good one,
did
yeah.
in Mamba's Mountain.
But he misses the token.
Yeah, how much time did that save? The pumpkin in the well? It was a huge time save.
It was about
Yeah.
17 seconds.
Jeez. And we were just swimming in there with Banjo just because it looked cool. Losing 17 seconds.
All right, so the church is a pretty notorious place in Mad Monster Mansion. There's these ghosts here that like to get in your way on the pews, and then you have to remember the Matsan piano pattern.
Luckily, it's the same every time, so you don't actually have to follow Matsan. If you just know it, you can type the keys in the order you need to.
And if you try playing this on an actual piano, it would just sound like complete nonsense. But what they do in the game is, like, based on the chord changes of the song, any note he pushes will just play like the root of the chord that he's on, that the song is playing. So they're not actually the right pitches, and that right pitches completely just sounds like nothing.
Thanks to Dick the musician over here, he can explain that to us.
It's kind of triggering though. Like they both just played two completely different notes that made the exact same pitch.
skeleton can get in your way. Thankfully, he wasn't there. And Stiv opting to just grab the Jiggy here. You can grab it in flight, and it saves maybe like a second or something. He decides not to go for it. Now he's going to have to fall down from the top of the church, and there's two ways he can do that. One is to jump and just flutter and land, take a damage. And there's also something that we haven't seen yet, where when you do that move, Beak Bust, and you hit the ground and then you fall all the way down, you actually will take no damage at all when you hit the ground.
Oof.
However,
that's going to be unfortunate. Now he has 0 gold feathers because that ghost got in his way on his way over here.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's not too bad to have 0 gold feathers at the end of this level.
It's okay. Yep.
You'll get more when you need them.
However, like the ghosts are actually the reason why we don't want to do that Beak Bust thing, because if you land on the ghost and then you hit the ground, you actually take all that fall damage that you would have taken. So you would take like 4 damage, and most likely you would die instantly. So runners don't usually go for that strategy in that room.
A lot of runners have thought they were safe by doing that to not take damage, and then their runs die. It's happened to me before.
That's what you get for being casual.
I'm sorry.
So all that's left now is to transform into the pumpkin and clean up the rest of the level.
Kind of looks like an orange. I don't know if it's a pumpkin or an orange, but you know.
It's a tangerine.
Yeah.
It's a clementine.
This little jumping orange. So yeah, he left that Jiggy there on purpose because grabbing it as the pumpkin on the way over here obviously skips the Jiggy Jig. Nice little 4-second time save.
We had to break these windows earlier as Banjo to let the pumpkin go in.
So once you collect 6 empty honeycomb cells in Banjo-Kazooie, it refills all your health and actually adds an extra life to your life bar. But since he did just grab his 6th empty honeycomb, and it would have refilled all his health, but he left that room before that cutscene could play, so he can continue to be at 2 health here, which is exactly what you want for this part of the level, because you're going to go into the well, do the whole well, and then death warp. So it would be a pain to have full health, and it would take a lot longer.
So something he did there is he actually jumped out of the window. As you're leaving certain windows in the game, you have 1 or 2 frames to jump. And so you can do that to get a little bit of extra acceleration and distance as you're leaving the window rather than just like falling down to the ground. And now Stiv's heading back over to the well area as the pumpkin.
So when Stiv enters the well here, he's going to do a series of like precise jumps over these whip cracks, trying to dodge them and not get hit while grabbing all these notes.
Alright, and that's it for Mad Monster Mansion.
Nice one.
Well done. So earlier in the lair, Stiv activated one of the cauldrons near Freezeezy Peak, and that cauldron takes you to and from the one by the TTC and Clankers puzzles, and that's conveniently really close to the Clankers Witch Switch Jiggy, and we need to go back for that. And additionally, this cutscene coming up where he activates the water switch actually auto-saves the game. So he's going to reset his console and continue from the start of the lair after this cutscene is over.
Rip.
Dang, the run died.
This wasn't world record pace.
Yeah. Reset.
So we can have some donations here as Stiv gets back into the game.
Okay, we have $50 from Windslash that says, "That's a good laugh. As promised, the extra 50." We have $150 from Bear Trainer that says, "Being able to watch this Banjo-Kazooie run makes working on 4th of July much more bearable.
Oh boy.
Keep up the great work." We have $25 from Pistol Shrimps for Life says, "You Banjo-Kablooey my mind with this run. Keep it up."
Keep the puns coming.
They all just came in at once. It's crazy. We have $25 from Phantom Power that says, "It would be bird brain not to donate during what is probably my favorite game this GDQ. I can barely believe how great this run is."
Okay.
We have $50 from Ale that says, "$50, a delightful treat for a banjo run that's quite a feat. Running games fast for those people in need, generous gamers who are all about speed."
See, I like the Gruntilda rhymes more than the puns. So. More of those.
We got $20 from Flower Pot that says, "Love the staircase to the cellar in Mad Monster Mansion. Donation to Stiv's choice. Thank you."
So here we're in Freezy Peak. This is the snowy level. We're gonna skip Boggy's text box there by going around him and head straight over to this Twinkly game. So if you hit one of these green guys right away and then
Oh god.
go hide on this present here where they're not on camera, these Twinklies will just jump right through them since their hitboxes aren't loaded and enter the tree, and we don't have to do anything.
Do some jumps and flutters, some crouches, do a couple of crouches,
Can you get a backflip
do
here?
a couple of rat-a-tat raps. Backflips, yeah. We got about 10 more seconds of this, so
Enjoyed the sounds. They're
Yeah.
beautiful.
great soundtrack, by the way. Freezy Peak's definitely one of my favorite songs in the game. Shout outs to Grant Kirkhope. Great composer.
All right, he gets the no scope eggs. Nice job. So now he's going to be doing a trick that we like to call YOLO Star coming up here. You have to beak bomb through this tree star, and you can actually do it really fast if you flutter through and then do a ground pound.
Looks good.
Let's see. Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
Textbook YOLO Star.
All right. So if you time your beak bomb really well, you can get it so that you activate the button and you don't get that knockback after you hit it. Saves a little bit of time there.
That's got to be a couple of pixels, honestly. That's a really insane.
It's really
beat bomb.
precise, yeah.
Gonna use the sled and hit Boggy here, and he's gonna shoot out a Jiggy for us. And we need to do this so we can do some Boggy races later.
Yep. He just gets up, and instead of going home to his crying children that are missing him dearly, he runs to go do some sled races. And who knows where their mom is? She's not in the game.
So down there is one of the presents. We have to get those 3 presents, red, green, and blue, take them back to the Boggy Kids at the end of the level. However, you cannot keep them if you death warp, which is what we're going to do in this level at the end. But you can't just grab them and death warp and then turn them in, because they are right next to the entrance of the level. You have to take a detour, which caused us to really question the routing of this level for a long time, but we kind of determined there was really no way around it, no quick way other than just returning back to the entrance. So Dick, you want to talk about these beak bombs and how hard they are?
Sure. Well, if you played this game as a kid, you know that beak bombing they're called Sir Slush, is probably one of the hardest things in the whole game, to get these beak bombs and nail them perfectly. So not only is Stiv nailing them all perfectly and hitting the top hats. He's actually aiming for the left side of each of the top hats because the bounce off of the snowman is really important. And if you hit the left side of each of the top hats, you get the perfect bounce. This beak bomb right here, super difficult and
Right into the
nailed
Right in
it.
the loading zone. Good job. 6 really precise beak bombs, and he got them all.
Yep.
Transforming into the walrus here. Getting ready to do our first race.
Yep, ready up the wahays.
So the walrus doesn't take damage in the cold water, so we're using to grab all of these notes in the water. On our way over to the sled. And the walrus is really slow.
So what Stiv's going to be doing during this first race is actually a really precise, I guess you call it a trick, to go out of his way to grab some notes around the right leg of the snowman. If he slows down even a tiny bit, Boggy's just going to end the race because he'll have gotten too far ahead and say, you're too slow, there's no point in continuing this. But
Nice.
Stiv
Got all
made
of
it
them.
through, and that's really,
Good
really
job.
tough. Call that right leg.
So this skips having us go back down there and get that stuff later.
Wahay.
Whay!
Wahay.
Whay!
Spell it W-A-H-A-Y.
W-A-H-E-Y.
It's a yeehaw backwards.
It's yaha backwards.
The chat's going crazy right now.
I'm glad.
Whay!
Oh, hey.
Wahay. No. So yeah, as you can see during the races, it's one of those mandatory things where you have to go from one point to the other. Might as well grab as much stuff as you possibly can during the race, and that was just done absolutely perfectly. Got everything you needed.
Even got 2 notes at the end. That's also really hard to do.
Don't worry, guys. We'll be racing Boggy a second time,
Yeah.
so get your wahays ready again.
I want to see twice as much spam in the chat.
Twice as much.
One thing that Stiv takes advantage of during the races is the rubber banding effect. So if you're really far behind Boggy, he'll actually slow down to let you catch up a little bit. However, if you're really far ahead of him, he will speed up like crazy. And especially in the second race, you really don't want to be too far ahead of him, because if you are ahead of him heading up to that present stack, he will most likely win. He'll just take off, and you won't be able to catch up to him.
So there's pretty long lull here. We could take a few more donations.
Alrighty, we have $60 from Pack that says, hello from the audience. Here's all the money donated to speedrun.com so far during this marathon. From now on, everyone has to shout, "Gaha," when Banjo gets a jiggy. We have $100 from Smasher32 that says, hey, Stiv.
Smasher.
What up?
Good luck on the rest of the run. Looks good so far. Also, shout-outs to Cole, Dickiscon, and Hyper on the couch, as well as the rest of the Banjo crew.
Thanks, Smasher.
Thank you.
We have $150 from Brentilda that says, here's some cash. Thanks for the games. Kill the animals? Or excuse me, save the animals, kill the frames. We have $50 from Frice that says, regarding the puns during this Beak and K run, we just grin and bear because it's gonna get grisly as we give pause to the pandemic.
Not like this.
We have $100 from Garlic and Thyme that just says, gotta go fast.
All right, so that's our last present. After we get this jiggy up here, Stiv is going to head back to the igloo.
And a really neat strat coming up here is that Stiv's actually going to get this last note, jump on the flight pad, and then head to the igloo by waiting a certain number of flaps of Kazooie's flaps, and then beak bombing, landing on the mountain, and then landing on the entrance of the igloo, and fluttering off into the igloo like that.
Nice.
Perfect.
Really well done.
And what happens there is that he's taking damage, and if Banjo takes fall damage, there's a really long animation of him like getting up and dusting himself off. But if you do it off of a platform, then you can gain control of him again. So, and it was really, really good to do there because it gets him down to exactly 5 health, which is exactly the amount of health that you need to do the Death Warp at the end of this level.
So not because he got the right leg strat earlier, just fine. He doesn't have to go back to the legs, and he can immediately start the second race. And this one is a little bit trickier. This you need the speed shoes for, and normally you need to go to Gobies and then back here. But we have the move.
Wahey! Wahey!
Wahey! So we're gonna go around the other leg here and get the rest of the stuff that we missed. Wahey!
Wahey!
I think you guys broke chat.
I'm glad.
So Stiv's just got to get one more note and then win the race.
Wahey! All right, last one on 3. 1, 2, 3. Wahey! There we go.
So coming up here in Waz's cave, this is the one Jiggy that we cannot skip the last dance for. So you'll get to see the extra long Jiggy Jig. And so then if you jump into cold water in Talon Trot, Banjo just falls and sinks to the bottom. We can do this to get into this little tunnel here that usually requires the walrus.
Yeah, and you'll notice he doesn't have an air meter in this water. The game actually still thinks he's on the surface of the water. He's not doing an underwater swim here. And taking damage from the cold, getting down to 1 health, and then dying on this enemy after collecting the last empty honeycomb. And that was really, really solid.
That was
Freeze
like
Easy Peak.
basically flawless Freeze Easy Peak. Like,
Perhaps a
almost
gold
nothing.
split. All right, so this is the one lair segment where there isn't much of a lull. A bunch of really intense stuff is about to happen. So he left the webbing over top of this flight pad area. So he has to get there in the speed shoes, cancel the speed shoes, and poop 3 eggs to open that flight pad and then take off from the flight pad
The guy wanted to get in the way, too.
before the timer runs out. He has 1 second, and boom, he did it.
Right. That guy really wanted
But
to
it's
get
not
in the
over
way.
there. He's about to beak bomb to break the glass on this eye jiggy, and then collect it in flight. And I'm not sure he's gonna go for it. And that looks really good. Amazing.
Nice beak bomb into the tunnel.
That's some YOLO strats right there.
And so you can actually beak bomb against the wall and extend your hitbox. So you can just grab this Jiggy behind the advent calendar through the wall. So you don't have to hit the witch switch in Freeze Easy Peak.
Really good section.
Yeah, that's about as hard as it gets with flying. So at this point, there's a bit of a lull. We'll take some donations.
Alrighty, we have $50 from Boggy112 and $100 from Stephen J that both say, "Wahey!"
Hey!
We have $25 from Anonymous that says, "The bird and the bear have had their fill. Another donation goes to kill."
Yes.
We have $25 from Lighter that says, "I've never seen moves so slick, 100% yet done so quick. Watching all these runs of speed, I pledge this cash to animals freed." We have $25 from Gregway Segway that says, Hello from Edinburgh, Scotland. Had to donate during the Banjo-Kazooie speedrun and come up with my own Gruntilda rhyme. You have to be smart to beat this witch, better act fast, and nail that glitch. You may hate that red crocodile, but that vile song made me smile. Money to runner's choice. Thanks, guys. We have $50 from Tachi that says, actually good Mr. Vile song. Well done. I loved it. Banjo-Kazooie is one of my favorite games. Happy to donate during this run. We have $25 from Surf4 that says, just had to donate while watching in awe. I spent so many hours playing Kazooie in my childhood and always thought it wasn't too bad. But what you guys do is just amazing.
Okay, so we've entered Rusty Bucket Bay here, and a lot of people will say that, you know, we already got a donation that said the rage-filled level. It's the difficulty goes up tremendously on this level, and it's mainly because of this room called the engine room. Even if you do it the intended way, where you slow down the fans, if you get hit and fall, you die, you lose all your notes. Luckily, in the speedrun, this is one of the first things we do in the level, and we don't do it the intended way, where you slow down the fans. Stiv is actually going to walk into the fans, take damage, and then use his invulnerability frames to roll and jump through to the other side. And if he gets knocked off, then...
Or
then
Talon Trot
it's a
jump.
death. Or, yeah, he could Talon Trot jump through.
Those sailors can really get in your way, too. They're really scary.
And to move optimally and to get to this section in time to do those pretty precise jumps. He's doing it?
He's doing it.
I didn't know this. Okay. Brand new.
All right.
Got through the first one.
Gotta do one more.
Nice.
Nicely done.
So doing those propellers in Talon Trot is like, it was something that was discovered a long time ago. We don't really remember who discovered it, but Mittens Hug is a runner who came up with a really consistent setup to get the camera set up in a way that it makes it pretty safe to go through those propellers. And with a bit of tweaking with camera work and stuff that we did, we found a really consistent way to get through there in Talon Trot. And it saves like a tiny bit of time, and it looks really cool.
And it also helps you set up a camera that's really good for that clip that he did at the end there. He walked at a precise angle in order to just clip right through the seam of the glass in the wall there. And that skips you having to leave engine room the normal way and saves quite a bit of time.
So in this water here, it's pretty toxic and gaseous, so you take double air when you're in it. So you have to be careful not to get stuck inside the propeller blades there, or you could end up dying underwater.
Now
So-
Stiv going to be making use of some slope glitches here for these platforms. Let's see if he can stay up.
Beautiful.
And he made it. Nice.
That's good. It's not easy to do, but yeah. So just using slope glitch, even getting his shadow to hit the flat water allowed him to go back onto that slope without sliding in. And that actually saves a lot more time than you would think, because hitting that water causes a lot of lag and having to climb back out. It's about 4 seconds, I think.
Stiv just losing a bunch of time here. Something I told him not to do. Something I told him not to do.
Yeah, those weren't clean.
So coming up here right after this switch Jiggy, Stiv's gonna go down into the boss boombox fight. So he's gonna, right when he enters, drop down and shoot a few eggs into him. And this will activate the fight, but the Jiggy will not despawn. And so he's gonna try to jump into boss boombox and grab the Jiggy at the same time. And if you do it frame perfectly, it'll skip the dance. However,
bet.
Stiv did not get it.
Just barely
It
missed
looked like you might have been one frame off, actually. Still faster than the gold feather strat, though.
Yep.
I guess he was able to get the Jiggy before getting hit by boss boombox.
However, he is at 3 health now, and he will be taking some damage later, so he needs to be a little careful.
Yeah. There's some opportunities to refill your health. For instance, in this third crate, there's a honey hive, but we'll see what he decides to do here about the low health situation.
This box can be really tricky to make your way through because the camera flips, but Stiv does it just fine there.
And in this next blue box here, we've got a room full of these champas. Gotta carefully make your way through them and under them to not get hit, but still get all of the notes and tokens.
Yeah, and these guys do 2 damage per hit, so it's a lot worse to get hit by them. And nice that he's through that with 3 health now. Feeling pretty safe.
Some more slope glitch abuse here. Made it back up.
So the next thing he's going to do, the next difficult trick coming up here is called lifeboat jump. So Stiv's going to activate this crane, and then he's going to do a really, really precise jump from the edge of that very, very corner of this platform to a lifeboat that's hanging off the boat. It was honestly pretty recently that there was a really good strategy discovered for this. Also a really fast strategy, and that was
Nice.
perfect.
It's a really tight jump. Good job.
That was really, not only did he nail the trick, but that was insanely fast.
Yeah. So he is at 2 health now, and if he does get hit by one of those champas, he'll die, so he has to be very careful.
In this next room here, though, you refill your health because you kill a couple of enemies, so.
It was interesting.
Taking it safe.
You have to be really careful while trying to get up that lifeboat hoist. If you miss by a little bit, you'll actually fall back down into the water, and getting back up onto the boat there takes about 20 to 30 seconds.
So he zooms in his camera here because this level does start the lag when you're up top here because you see so much of the level.
This code is actually printed on the side of the boat, but we also just have it memorized. Now this room coming up is called the navigation room, and for some reason the game can crash if you get hit by these enemies at a certain spot. So luckily he did not get anywhere close to them this time.
So as you enter this room, you can just hold down left and mash A to flutter, and you just go right to the jiggy, skipping the entire room.
You can do a damage boost there off of that chomp enemy, but he is at low health, so Stiv is gonna not use that strat here.
Typically, in an optimal Rusty Bucket Bay, at that point, you would want to have 5 health. Then taking the damage boost up from the chomp will get you down to 3 health, and then taking another damage boost from a chomp later on gets you down to the 1 health to do the death warp optimally. But if you take accidental damage, then going for that damage boost is not advised.
So this is the anchor room. These sailor guys can really get in your way sometimes, but Stiv had no problem.
Yeah, that was really
Nice.
good luck. Those
They-
guys are always just standing on top of the notes.
They like to run around in circles. You may think you're away from them, and they run in a circle and they run to the next note that you can't see.
So even though that anchor just sliced directly through the middle of that dolphin, it swam away just fine.
Just swims away unscathed, no problem.
Because we like to save the animals here.
So So he just has to get this Jiggy that Snorkel left us and then grab the last Jinjo. And similarly to Mambo's Mountain and Mad Monster, we're going to be trying to do another Jinjo skip. And there's two ways you can do this. One, like we have been, and one that Stiv is going to opt to do here, where you actually jump onto the Jiggy. Oh,
Dang.
he missed it. He was a little bit too early. If you jump onto that Jiggy before you actually touch the ground, the game doesn't think you're on the ground yet. It still thinks you're in the water. So it applies those water physics to you, and it simply skips the dance. However, Stiv jumped a little too early there, so he landed on the ground.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because we got to see the good dance again.
So this is the last room in Rusty Bucket Bay. Stiv's going to get hit by this Champa here, bring himself down to
2 health.
1 health.
That's weird.
And so he can fly up to this empty honeycomb and then death warp back at the start.
Nice. And it's good that he didn't land in the water there. You get a little bit of a slower death animation when you land in the water.
Good level.
Overall, really good to Rusty Bucket Bay.
So, good time for donations here.
Got a pretty good donation here. We got $25 from Lazy Bear Banjo that says, this one goes to Stiv, Martin 1K, and George Michael Gashis from the Banjo community.
Oh, George Michael Gashis.
We got $200 from Gentium that says, longtime viewer, first-time donor. Glad to help out. Thank you to all the speedrunners and organizers for making this amazing event happen. We got $150 from Red224 that says, always wanted to check out Banjo and Kazooie, but somehow I never got around to do it. I'm so happy to get to see the quick version now. Wahey!
Hey. So using a really precise backflip, Stiv can get
nice.
up onto this leaf here. Nice job. And he can skip having to go around to the other side of the room.
That jump is a real pain. It can just randomly decide to not work a lot of the time.
So this switch here gives the puzzle here, or the pad here, so you can open Click Clock Wood, but that's all the way by TTC. So that's why we activated this orange cauldron back at the beginning of the run, so we can just warp directly there.
You can read off another donation or two.
Okay, we have $10 from Clayton241 that says, Banjo-Kazooie is my all-time favorite game. I'm glad to see it back at GDQ. Normally I would say kill the animals, but to celebrate Banjo returning, I say save the animals.
Yay.
We have $10 from Aquagenesis that says, I just had my 10-year-old niece have a laughing fit over watching Stiv's run over the Wahays. This is my favorite childhood game of all time. Save the Jinjos.
Brentilda?
Nah.
Nope, no Brentilda.
Brentilda.
I guess, who wants to talk about that? I really don't.
Okay, I will. So Brentilda, also one of the donators earlier, she is Grunty's sister, and she knows some information about Grunty that you don't. And that's important because at Furnace Fun in the end game, there's a board where we have all these random questions to answer. And the Grunty questions are actually different on every file. There's 255 patterns, and who was it that made the calculator?
Oh, what was his name?
Bonaparte.
Bonaparte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made something called a Furnace Fun calculator, which has all the patterns in it, and it gives you the most likely option for the Grunty questions. And still will be using that later on to help him in Furnace Fun.
So this is Click Clock Wood. It's the largest level of the run. There's 4 different seasons. So there's a tree that you traverse, and it changes throughout the seasons with different collectibles.
Yeah, and this is one of the more interesting level designs, and of its time, I thought it was really, really cool because the things you do in earlier seasons affect things that happen in the later seasons. So it's the same exact layout, but the leaves are really small here, they haven't budded, and then in summer they're like full-blown leaves, and in autumn they're dying and falling off, And then, so everything you do, it's like you're almost time traveling through 1 year, like accomplishing tasks and setting things up for the next seasons. And it's got a great soundtrack.
He was jumping over those birds there, around the birds rather, to get past them quicker. And as the seasons go on, the birds actually get bigger, so it becomes a lot more difficult to jump around them and near impossible in autumn.
Ooh.
Oh, guy just wanted to get hit.
So one of the other things in this level that you have to do throughout the seasons is take care of this baby eagle here. And so we have to hatch his egg in spring here.
Whoops.
And then Banjo-Kazooie sucks. Mama.
So coming up right here, Stiv's gonna do that trick that we were talking about in Bubble Goop Swamp, where he's gonna get hit during this cutscene and be able to travel extra distance during the cutscene. And so he's gonna head over right here to this ledge here. He's gonna jump on it and get stuck.
Wow,
Nice.
that was very, very well done.
That clip is a lot harder than it looks, and he got it first try. That was really fast.
You know, not to mention, he can move during the cutscene, but the camera is still focused on where he got hit, so he's just blindly running.
And so that he did something called a void out, which is different than dying, where voiding out just takes you to the start of the level, but everything stays like your notes. So we're going to be using that quite a bit in this level to get back to the entrance.
Yeah, the developers decided that if you should break their game, that you shouldn't be punished for it. So they let you keep your notes in Jinjos. So as you can see, the birds are getting bigger. He has to make some wider jumps around the birds.
So this Zubba minigame is supposed to be hard because you're supposed to rat-a-tat-rap them. But you can just sit here in one spot in Gold Feather and kill them all really fast.
So something I'm going to mention ahead of time, just because there's going to be a lot to talk about pretty soon, is that Click Clock Wood, I mean, for the most part, this game, you haven't seen too many, like, big glitches, like game-breaking glitches, but the end of Click Clock Wood gets a little insane. And if you watch the run at AGDQ 2015, this is about to be a completely different story. Like, once we hit winter, you'll see what I'm talking about.
And so in summer, you need to collect 5 caterpillars and feed them to Irie, and in autumn you need to collect 10. Doesn't matter which season you get them in, you can just collect them as you go, and they'll transfer over.
Yeah, and another thing to point out is you may think it would look faster at some points of this level to kill a bird that's in your way, but if you kill a bird in Click Clock Wood, the first bird that you kill has a really long cutscene for some reason, of the bird dying and falling out of the tree. And so you have to go through this whole level. If you want to save the most time possible, you have to go through this level without killing any of the birds. So there's some points where he's just going to try to dodge some birds, and when it would look like it would probably just be faster to kill it. But that's why.
So we're going to do some precise platforming across these leaves to go get this Jiggy.
Like right there.
Nice. Dodge the bird.
So something also to point out is that where there's a set amount of Mumbo tokens in the game, but they're not on the total screen. The only thing on the total screen are Jiggies, notes, and empty honeycomb cells. However, you do need to collect Mumbo tokens throughout the run because you need certain amounts to transform into certain creatures. And so in Click Clock Wood, you really want to keep an eye on your Mumbo token count. And Stiv currently has the correct amount of Mumbo tokens, so if he collects the rest of the ones in the route, he'll have 25 right in time to go transform into the Bumblebee.
So that jump that Stiv did earlier was a little tricky. If you fall there, you'd lose quite a bit of health. But he made it just fine. That Jiggy is also there in fall as well if you want a safer strat.
And it was interesting. Did he do the jump onto the snare bear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the snare bears actually don't have a hitbox behind their eyes, so you can actually just like walk onto them without taking damage. So it saved a little bit of time there for a more direct route to the next area.
So now after you feed Irie, he's just gonna take a nap and he's gonna fall asleep for an entire season.
That's about it for summer. Just got to get this Jinjo.
Good summer. That's probably the toughest season I'd say for just pure movement and jumps and things. So good to not fall or die. Always good to not die. So.
So fall here is the longest season. It's got the most notes in it. And so there's gonna be a bunch of collecting.
It's a little bit weird to route this level because like there's notes on every single bird, and in between each one, it's just kind of a big circle, and it makes it really weird to route. But we actually did it really well so that we also don't have to detour later to get the flower Jiggy. And we'll explain that as we come up to the flower area. So normally in this section coming up, Stiv would detour and hit Gobi again. However, he's just going to skip Gobi completely, and you might wonder, how is he going to get the flower Jiggy? Well, he can make a return trip to Spring to do so, and you'll get a few more notes and the flower Jiggy in the season that you actually are not intended to collect the Jiggy in. Stiv also needs to have some gold feathers for this season. He needs them to get the notes in these snare bears. So 4 is the right amount that he needs here, so he's good.
You can even pull it off with 3. You
can,
4 is just
yeah.
safe.
Again, he's zooming in the camera here because it just reduces lag a little bit. The particle kind of effect of the leaves falling in this season really lags the game, especially when you're higher up in the tree. And now he can't even jump around these birds here. They're just too big. So he's just going to kind of slide right underneath them. Nicely done.
Good hitboxes in this game.
Speaking of good hitboxes, we have the acorns coming up for Nabnut. We need to collect 6 of them. They also have really bad hitboxes, and there's one floating in mid-air that is notorious for just people missing it, falling right through it. You look like you're going to get it, but you don't. Risky jump and
Yeah.
hits it.
That's pretty
Nice.
risky.
It's the tricky tricky acorn. Last tricky jump is onto this little thing with 3 notes here. All right, you got it.
Yep, really good acorns.
Solid.
Nice, solid. While he's giving these acorns to Nabnut, I guess we have time for a quick donation if you got a good one.
We have $22.22 from Arizona Cat 46 that says, "Hey Stiv, your favorite mod Arizona Cat here. It amazes me how you're always able to make that bear go so quick. Step on the gas and beat the game fast. Donation goes to Runner's Choice."
Again, making use of that slope glitch here to get past these birds without having to kill them. Saves a little bit of time. Opening up the last season winter, and you're going to feed Irie for another 10 worms. So you can go ahead and read another few donations.
Alrighty, we have $25 from Anonymous that says, "My favorite game of mine you play, love that Rusty Bucket Bay. What else is there left to say? Giddy up and shout, wahey!" We have $150 from Clock Tower that says, "My mom loves Banjo-Kazooie. 100%ing this game with her is part of my childhood that I will never forget. Oh, and hi, Mom." We have $10 from Anonymous that says, "When I heard Banjo-Kazooie was being run today, I jumped down and said, wahey."
Oh, hey.
We have $20 from TM Dawn that says, "Props to Stiv for taking on one of my favorite childhood games, and also to the Couch Crew for providing such great commentary and entertainment. Also, wahey!"
Hey.
All right, so that's it for Autumn.
Really nice so far. Great pace.
So the next season is Winter, and in Winter we have a bunch of flying sections that we have to go through.
Yeah, this season, probably some of the more drastic changes to the run since 2015 that you're going to see.
Tricky getting those notes on that house there. Kind of wobble back and forth a little bit. This snowman can be a little bit scary. He can hit you out of the air, but threw the snowball into the ground there.
Yeah, it's a little way to manipulate that, actually. If you continue to fall when he lets go of the snowball, he kind of tries to throw it where he thinks you're going to end up. So he'll just throw it straight down.
Yep.
And so Stiv waited to flutter onto the switch until after that snowball was thrown.
Oof. So this Jiggy right here is actually there in all the seasons. It just happens to be fastest to get it here because these notes are at the top, and you have to head up here anyways. So might as well collect it now. And then we got to jump down, get these notes on the branches. And then Irie's right above us, and he's ready to give us a Jiggy.
So here's Erie the Eagle, all grown up. You know, happy 4th of July, everybody. Even though I'm Canadian, I mean, might as well be said.
All right, so we got it without landing there, and he's going to try to get this one as well. Nice.
Oh,
You thought that was going in.
It's all right.
Conveniently, there's this flight pad right here we can use to get
Use
back
the
up.
intended strat here. Whew. There we go.
All right, nice. Really tricky to get that egg poop onto the window there. All right, so coming up now is a series of flying clips that were found by Smasher, Banjo-Kazooie, and Red Jinjo. And Stiv is going to beak bomb downwards at a precise angle at this window, and it's going to put him right in Naughty's house. Nice,
That was good.
gets the first one.
Out of
Now
bounds,
he's in
but-
Naughty's house, and the goal is to get this Jiggy and the Honeycomb without losing flight, and perform another winner clip here at the fireplace to avoid out of bounds and go back to the lobby.
Ooh,
Nice.
Wow.
Gets it.
Very nice. Okay, so I think for this section we should ask for complete silence.
I'll explain what's going on
Okay.
leading up, and then we'll ask for serious time. So how we're going to get the flower Jiggy? Well, it turns out that if you return to spring, for some reason the game still has the hitbox for the flower. You can still poop eggs into it, even though the leaves are spawned up. However, when the Jiggy spawns, the game doesn't know what to do because it's thinking Gobi is going to be there. So the game actually will soft lock. However, because we can use that damage during cutscenes thing we found, we can use that to make our way to a loading zone without actually seeing where we're going. So we'll let Stiv do his thing here. We need some serious time. There you
Amazing.
go, yeah.
Perfectly done. A little disappointing that we didn't get a washing machine, but that was pretty impressive.
That's generally the most, what the heck trick in the whole run. You don't know what's going on. The game's camera is locked. And Stiv has to make his way to that loading zone without knowing at all where he's going. And you can do that by, counting jumps with Talon Trot and using actually the sound that you make when you touch the ground. So think back to Runner Guy's blindfolded Ocarina of Time run where he said, I use certain terrain sounds to know where I'm going. That's additionally what Stiv uses when he backflips up the root of the tree and he hears not a grass sound but like a little hit on the ground sound. He knows he's on that platform and he can head over to the skull. And that's it for Click Clock Wood, and
That was a really,
100%.
really good Click Clock Wood. So
that's 100%. Really good. Yep.
every level.
So what we gotta do now is go do Furnace Fun and then beat Grunny. So Furnace Fun is just a little quiz game that Grunny puts on where you have to answer a bunch of questions. There's general trivia questions, picture questions, sound questions. And there's Joker squares where if you answer them correctly, you'll get a little card that you can skip a square. And we'll be using those to skip all these mini-game squares because we don't want to do these long mini-games. Then there's death squares where if you answer the question wrong on them, you'll be flung off the board. And
So, as you can imagine, Banjo runners have all these questions memorized, but there are grunty squares that have random answers. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to talk to Brentilda throughout the lair, and she gives you the answers. You're supposed to write them down somewhere and keep track of them for when you get to this point in the game. But since we're speedrunning, we're not going to go out of our way to talk to all these Brentildas. So Stiv's basically just going to guess for these questions.
However, he does have his calculator with him. He's
Yeah.
going to use that to help him out. One other thing about these.
Oh.
Here's another thing that's tricky.
Yes!
Oh, he got it. Wow.
Oh my God.
Okay.
That was
so-
about a 33% chance.
So what I was going to say there before he started that question was the Joker and the Death Squares can have random questions, and some of those can be grunty, and he just happened to get one, and he got it right, which is super lucky because if he needs those Joker Squares to skip the timer questions, and if he doesn't get that question right, it's better to just die and restart Furnace Fun and try again.
Yeah, so you can imagine on PB pace or world record pace runs, getting a grunty on that Joker is very tense because if you get it wrong, your run is completely dead after 2 hours. That's the eggs.
Okay. Nice, easy picture question here for the death square.
Click, cluck, wood.
Sabotage.
Wow.
Well, great grunny luck so far.
Yep. And the more you get right, the more narrowed down the pattern becomes. So getting close to having solved the board with 3 in a row, correct?
Well, you may be wondering where Stiv's going right now. He didn't go up to exit the board. He's going left here because actually on this death square question, and then there's another one on the board also, but this one's a little bit faster, you stand in a certain spot on it and answer the question incorrectly. The game will throw Banjo off the board, but if you stand in that spot, you'll land back on the board and all the invisible walls on the spaces are deactivated. And you can just walk right to the end and skip the rest of the board.
It's probably good. Yeah.
Nice. Wow. So, yeah, intentionally getting that question wrong on the death square has broken the game. There's actually a 5-minute credit sequence. You probably already said this, but there's a 5-minute credit sequence that you have to wait before you can go fight the final boss. And that skip was discovered by our Obliterator by accident. He got a picture question wrong on a death square, and he landed back on the board. He was so confused, he didn't know what to do, and he just walked off the edge and died. So
If he would have completed that run, he probably would have gotten world record.
he probably would have gotten world record because he found a 6-minute time save.
And last time Stiv was here, he did any percent, and he did door grunny skip, but now we got all the jiggies, we can just open the door, and you use like 50 eggs in this fight. So it's best to just open this door and get the refill. It gives you 100. You don't have to worry about missing eggs. And just the grunny fight, which is a really technical fight with a lot of phases.
Yep. If you
Really impressive when done well.
If you ever beat this game as a kid, you know how difficult this fight can be. You probably had many deaths. So we're getting here close to the end of the run. Really great run, and just got to beat this evil witch.
So we can use the ground pound invincibility here. At the end of your ground pound, you're invincible. So Grunny will just go right through us, and if we those homing missiles she throws at us, we can just not take damage from them by doing a ground pound.
So after this is a flight section where you have to land 4 beak bombs. And it can be really tricky because if you miss the first one, it's kind of everything is thrown off. The first one is the most important.
Second one, you have to kind of lead her off here.
Ooh,
And now for the
that was
third and
really
fourth
close.
one, he can just beak bomb right at her as she's shooting fireballs.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's some garbage. Come on. All right, quick recovery. Nice.
So now there's going to be 4 little Jinjo statues coming up on the perimeter of the arena. The first one that appears is the one that's to the right of this little grate on the ground, and Stiv's going to try to poop some eggs so that they land in the statue during the cutscene and save about 10 seconds. Looks good?
Yeah.
All
Very
right, nice. All right, really good egg shots.
Oof.
And normally the Jinjus kind of swirl above your head and then they dive at Gruntilda, and you can just jump right underneath her and it'll hit her a little bit quicker there. And now Stiv has to be careful to not get hit at all here because then she'll reset her fireball throwing cycle. Didn't get hit, you can use the invincibility.
We're coming up on time here. As soon as Stiv shoots the last egg into the Ginginator, that's when we're going to call time.
So here
This is ridiculous how fast this run was, honestly.
you got to shoot 5 eggs into each side of Ginginator here. while dodging fireballs.
While dodging fireballs.
Come on, Stu.
All right,
And
and
time. Oh my god! What? That's unbelievable. Oh my god. That's just under 2 minutes faster than the second place time. So, and he missed world record by like a minute and a half. That's really insane,
we have
right?
a 2:03.12, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
That's-
great
that's
for a
crazy.
marathon run. Great performance by Stiv.
And I just want to say really quickly before we finish up here, watching speedruns is really fun, and it doesn't only have to be twice a year at the Games Done Quicks. There's a speedrunning community on Twitch. You know, you can follow your favorite games. There's someone always speedrunning Banjo. Like at any point of the day, you can find someone speedrunning Banjo-Kazooie, and I think the same can be said for like any of your favorite games. So get out there, follow your favorite games, find some good runners, and just keep watching speedrunning, keep supporting speedrunners.
And you can check out our speedrun.com page to find our link to our Discord, and you can talk with us, and we can help you learn the game if you want to.
Yep, really good
Yep.
community.
We've got a tutorial up for pretty much all of the newest strats. Stuff that was shown in this run that hasn't been for 2 years. A lot of these developments were actually found really soon after that run, and we're glad we were able to show it off today.
Yeah, really happy with that. Thanks.
Nice job, Steve.
Thank you.